Hey everyone, so in today's video, we are going to be talking about some makeup products that I typically can't really talk about, but now all of that is going to change. There are actually some of you that probably have fell victim to brands discontinuing a favorite product that you absolutely love. Well, unfortunately, I am not immune to it. I do have holy grail, absolute favorite products that I love so much. And in today's video, we are going to talk about those products. And the reason I am going to talk about them finally in this video, I have mentioned some of these products before, just not a lot, because I don't want to torture you guys. Two of these products in particular, I have finally found dupes or alternatives, which I am so pumped about. So let's first start off with what is on my face. I have two different foundations on my face. Now, you might not be able to tell texture-wise. I mean, you might be able to tell color-wise because the colors aren't exactly the same. But let's talk about the CYO Long Lasting Life Proof Foundation. This foundation, when I tried it, it was already on its way out. I tried it right at the last second when it was still in stores. I picked it up at a Walgreens. Actually, I remember exactly the Walgreens I picked it up at in Chicago. I put my sister onto it. It was around $6, and this is by far one of the best foundations I have ever used in my life. Lasts well on the skin. It gives a really pretty finish, blendable, never mask-like, but also gave significant coverage that really felt like hydrated skin. Thinner than something like the IT Cosmetics CC cream, probably better than that product, but kind of a similar vibe to it. Creamy, melts into the skin, just gives you that instant coverage, really easy to work with. And it has just been a favorite of mine since I tried it. Well, it ended up being discontinued, but I was like, it's no worries. Because it turns out that the exact same formula existed in the Soap & Glory Kick-Ass Foundation, which you guys can see that this is just an empty bottle because they decided to discontinue this as well. So you know what? I'm starting to get angry here, guys. Why is this formula being discontinued? Well, I finally found a formula that I actually think is even better. It is the No. 7 Restore and Renew Serum Foundation. Now, there are really only two main differences between the No. 7 and this formula from CYO/ Soap & Glory. This is even more blurring, slightly less dewy, and sits even closer on the skin. I have now tested it out multiple times wearing CYO, which this is CYO, wearing the CYO on one side and wearing the No. 7 on the other side. And consistently, I prefer the side with the No. 7. So not only have I found an alternative, I believe that I have found a better product. This is one of the best foundations I have ever used. I wish that there was a better shade range. If you want something similar, the most similar product that I have loved for a really long time is the Shiseido Radiant Lifting Foundation. But again, this is around $14. Certainly one of the best makeup items I have ever used. And I always like to mention with affordable favorites that I do not love this because it is affordable. It happens to be affordable. It just is a plus that I'm able to recommend a product that is so affordable for you guys. I'm gonna give you guys some quick swatches. So this is the shade Calico from No. 7. This is my shade. It's a really nice shade for someone like me that has a more yellow neck, but my face tends to be more neutral. Now, I also have the shade 101 from CYO that I'm still able to swatch for you guys, as well as the shade 102. 102 was definitely a shade that I liked out of the CYO. We have Calico from No. 7, 101 from CYO, and then 102 CYO as well. And I wish I could give you guys a swatch of the Kick-Ass, but I've been trying all morning to kind of get anything out of it. I don't really want to break it. Really, the only reason I'm keeping this at this point is just for I don't know, proof that it actually existed. So yeah, I'm really happy that I didn't just immediately run through my CYO because I was able to finally find a formula that I think has trumped it. And I didn't think that would be possible at a similar price point, but it's true. Now, I do have 2 different shadows on my eyes today, and I will say that it isn't one shadow on each eye, if that makes sense. So before I even get into that, let's talk about what the Holy Grail product is. It is my beloved Chanel New Moon. This is one of the best one-and-done eyeshadows I have ever used, one of the best makeup products I have ever used. And the reason why I have consistently loved it the way that I do is that not only is it so incredibly smooth, glossy, and glittery, the shade itself is actually more than meets the eye. You know, in here it looks quite purple. It's not quite as purple when you put it onto the hand or onto the eyes. It has a little bit more of a medium brown tone to it, but the purple note is still there, the touch of pink is still there, and the glitters are actually a very, very soft gold. Shade-wise, it's not easy to come by. It is way more than meets the eye. It looks, again, I mean, even just like on the hand, you're like, oh, I know a lot of shades like this. A lot of shades don't have that touch, very slight touch of that purple pink smoke to it. It's subtle, but I swear, like, I tore apart my collection of single shadows. And you guys know how large it is. Looked through my palettes. This is incredibly unique. And it is what is on this eye today. And again, every time I wear it, I am reminded of why I love it. Unfortunately, it was limited edition when they discontinued it. But here's the thing, you know, with luxury makeup, they're like, it's limited edition, but then it exists for quite a while, but then it goes away, which is very confusing to the consumer, I feel like. But anyway, let's talk about the first option I have for you guys for an alternative. And like I mentioned before, these are combinations of shadows to get a similar effect. But I feel very good about both alternatives. So both alternatives start with the same base shadow, and it is Bodyography Off the Hook. This shade is absolutely gorgeous, and it's going to do 2 things for us. One, it's going to automatically give the eye this little bit of sparkly translucence that is really key with the Chanel New Moon shade. All of the shades that I have looked up that are similar to Chanel New Moon, they're not. I've heard people talk about like Amber Rush from L'Oreal being similar, but that shade does not have a wet kind of translucence to it. It leans way more metallic, so you're not going to be able to get the same effect. However, you can see with the Bodyography glitter pigment, we're already getting close to the texture. And the overall texture of Chanel New Moon is pretty integral for getting the look. First, you're gonna start off with a light coat of Off the Hook from Bodyography. And I say light because you're going to have to mix colors either on the hand and then apply them or on the eye. You know, putting it on a palette is probably an easier way to do this, which is why I think when I finally applied it today, this particular combo, I feel like they aren't as exact as they were previously. But again, and when you're trying to recreate a color, it's much easier to do that on like a palette kind of situation, if that makes sense. But next, what you're going to add on top is Tea Rose from Victoria Beckham. And what this is going to give us is a little bit of that rosiness. This has a really nice rose brown tone that is, again, very important to capturing New Moon. So you can see we already got way closer when we added that. And when you even blend it out a little bit, you can really start to see how similar they are. And right now I'm finding that this looks even a little bit too warm. So I can just go right back into Off the Hook from Hourglass and just add a little bit more. You're really gonna go back and forth with these 2 shades, and then I got a little bit closer, you can see. But something that I really love about Chanel New Moon is how wet and glossy the glitters are in here, and they're definitely a little bit more scattered the way a glittery top coat would be. Not that these aren't really good glittery top coats, but they don't have a ton of kind of scattered glitter to them. They're a little bit more uniform. So give me that effect right on top. I go back to a staple, which is Space Cowboy, and I add that right on top. And then there we have the two shades. So again, Chanel New Moon, and then we have our concoction on this side. Pretty freaking similar. And I really like this particular combo because I think it really captures the texture itself that Chanel New Moon has. I think that that texture is really important. But I also have another combo that I wanted to let you guys in on. I really like this one because I think it captures a little bit more of the kind of purple note that I think is so unique out of Chanel New Moon. So again, I'm gonna go back in to Chanel New Moon. So there it is. And as I mentioned before, we're going to start again with a base of Off the Hook from Bodyography. That down onto the hand. So again, Off the Hook, Chanel New Moon. You can see that they are not the same shade. Off the Hook is just kind of adding, again, this base layer that we have to work with. And next, you're gonna go in with the Rowan 1111 palette. And I feel like a lot of you guys are gonna be excited about this combo because I know a lot of you guys have purchased this. You're going to take this pink shade right here. It's called Rosy. You're going to add that over Off the Hook. And you can see that this shade really gets us close. So there you go. Chanel New Moon, just those two combined. But I'm seeing a little bit more coolness to this, right? Well, we have this shade right over here that is just ready to provide us with a little bit of coolness. So we're gonna take a touch of that, not too much, because again, we only want a little bit. And what's nice about a palette is, again, you can kind of like keep building the shades together. And I mean, we are close, people. The only main difference is that one shadow that is quite thin, and you know, we have built this up. So the textures are gonna be a touch different, but those shades, I mean, it is screaming New Moon to me. And on the eyes, you can just barely tell the difference. Now, what I would recommend to do now is you can either go in with this shade, and I did do that for the demo that you're about to see. As that kind of scattered, glittered look, I went in with this glittery top coat from the 1111 palette, but you could certainly go in with a Moondust shade as well. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of the 1111 and just tap that right on top. And here we have the two shades, and they, my friends, are incredibly similar. The only difference I see is that in the reflect, when it moves, this leans more gold. So if you want to capture that little bit of gold that Chanel New Moon has, as opposed to the more like champagne multi-dimensional glitter that the Rowan palette has, go in with a scattered glitter topper. I know Makeup by Mario has a gold one. Just love the Moondust shade in Space Cowboy, even more than like a true warm gold topper. So as far as the shift itself, I tend to lean towards colors more like this. But yeah, so I have finally given you guys some options here. Now let's get into some products that I unfortunately don't have dupes for. I am sure that some of you guys are familiar with the most beautiful Natasha Denona Chroma Crystal top coats. They really are some of the most beautiful, wet, glassy looking glitters. My friends, they have been discontinued. And this is a tale that I have told before. If you were listening to the CYO and the Soap and Glory situation, this unfortunately is very similar. So I have two shades of the Natasha Denona Chroma Crystal top coats. I have the shade Peach as well as the shade Gray Brown, which is, freaking fantastic. Here we have gray brown, and peach up at the top. But then I heard, okay, these are being discontinued. They basically have been discontinued. You can only really find the shade Nude from this line, and I'll try and leave it linked down below in case you're really itching to get a formula like this. Jaclyn Cosmetics came out with these shimmery top coats, and she came out with a bunch of different shades. The shade Tinsel is very similar to gray brown. Just pick these up. It's wonderful. There we have Tinsel next to gray brown. On the eyes, you're not really gonna be able to tell much of a difference at all. They're more affordable as well. So I was like, great, that's even better. She had this shade Glassy that, hold on a second, this looks like peach from Natasha Denona. Let's go. I am just pumped to hear about it. So again, we are dealing with super similar products in very similar shades. And I even got this shade North Star, which quickly became a product that I wanted to use all of the time. And I'm gonna swatch it kind of on my knuckles because I don't really have a choice here. It's beautiful. Gorgeous. Wouldn't you know it, these are now discontinued. So I give up. How can I get a hold of the manufacturer of this product so that I can just put it out for myself? That's what I'm asking, because I think this formula is so underrated, absolutely stunning, and I just want more of them. Or Jaclyn, just come back out with these. Natasha Denona, what's going on here? And lastly, as a warning to you all, one of you called this out to me, the Tom Ford cream and powder eye duos have been going on sale pretty much everywhere. They are completely sold out on the Tom Ford website. A lot of retailers have been putting them on sale and they've now sold out. So we all know what that means. These puppies are probably going away. Naked Bronze is one of my favorite duos ever. Luckily, we do have Auric, and Samantha Ravindal has created some absolutely beautiful shades. So I'm not quite as heartbroken about these going away as I would be if Auric was not creating something super similar. But just as a forewarning, I feel like another favorite is now slowly drifting from us. But as a whole, I hope that you guys did enjoy today's video. I hope that you like those alternatives. The number 7 Restore and Renew, the 1111 palette, and the Off the Hook duo. And one last one that I could recommend, though it is a little bit more pricey, so I, struggle with this. If you take a little bit of Silky Chestnut from Sicily, this has a really beautiful tone to it. You can see it right there. And you add a little bit of the 1111 palette. So I'm gonna go back in with that pink shade and go back in with the silvery shade. You can also get something quite similar to Chanel New Moon as well. And there are those two next to each other as well. So Tea Rose and Off the Hook with a little bit of the Moon Dust. This is a good option. My personal favorite option is playing around with the 1111 palette, maybe a little bit of a glittery top coat on top, and you're probably going to be in good shape. And you know what? It has given me a newfound love of the 1111 palette. I already knew how much I loved these tones, but I never quite put it together that New Moon and this palette were so similar tonally when you created looks with them, which is just so fun. It makes it really fun for me to play with these. By the way, guys, I am wearing Charlie from Rowan on my lips right now. Actually, it's faded a little bit, but this is like the best wintertime liquid lip balm. It just, when it fades, it just sinks right into the lips. My lips were so dry and immediately they're so comforted. Oh, and by the way, I did get a little Rowan package in the mail. I feel like this video is getting off the rails, but I picked up the Everything Eyes duo. Wait, where's the palette? Well, anyway, I got the Cake Mascara and I have the Gold Lust palette, and I've only put it on my eyes once. Let me give you guys some swatches. The formula is definitely different than the original palettes, which I was prepared for. These 3 more like metallic satin shades Honestly, they're not as multi-dimensional and beautiful as like the 1111 palette in my opinion. However, there's a new formula that I have not seen Rowan do before, and it's all encapsulated into this shade up here. And when you add this glittery topper to any of these, you're gonna get an insane look. So let me do that now. Like, woo! It really amps up the shine of these. So I'm excited to keep playing with this and keep giving it a go. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys in my next one.